All right, so I'm gonna bring in Minna Walker and Kelly Dugan of Daisey the Great. July 17th is when the new record comes out. It's the Rubber Teeth Talk with Friends. It's a reimaging of 2025's release, the Rubber Teeth Talk. But this one will feature new versions of each song and have collaborations from other artists. I guess I'll start out with a simple question. What made you guys want to do this? And this is so unique, in my opinion. I feel like it's not that often you see artists follow up a record from the previous year with something similar to this. So, how did you come to this decision and like this idea, essentially?
Honestly, it's always been kind of our dream to do something like this. We've kind of dabbled with it in the past. Like, we've made different versions of songs, like Glitter, for example. We have Glitter 2 and Time Machine. We have Time Machine 2 with Illuminati Hotties on it. And we did a new version of our song Tell Me Have You Been Dancing with Claude. But it's just kind of something that feels really fun to do once you put a song out to kind of release another version of it that maybe, like, reveals us, a different side of the song, especially because we play music in a lot of different ways. Like, sometimes we're playing full band and sometimes we're really stripped back, and the song just kind of sits differently in that way, so it's nice to be able to play around with it and, like, actually put something out to have people listen to that
Yeah.
showcases, like, the flip side of the song or, something else.
Yeah, I also feel like I always think about songs like recordings as like versions of songs anyway, because I think songs are living things that like exist through time in different ways. So I like creating new versions of the songs, especially like having somebody else like have their own take on the song because like songs traditionally are sung and like living through time. So I think that like doing something like this emphasizes that.
Yeah, that's actually something I wanted to talk about because it sounds like it was a really positive experience having other artists come in and kind of give their version of the songs. But in the beginning, once you first got into the studio and it was like, oh, this is really happening. These are our personal songs that people are sitting down and they're kind of, giving their own perspective on it. Was that kind of, at least in the beginning, weird for you as artist?
It is weird. It was a good exercise in, like, letting go of it feels like you have your baby that you made, and then you're kind of being like, "Here, you can do whatever you wanna do with this." But it was also really fun. I think in the past, we've always been super, super hands-on with everything. So it was weird, but it was also kind of exciting to let people just run with it. And some of the songs, I feel like the artists really just, like, took it and made something, and then in other situations, we were there with them collaborating more. So we had a really wide range of, like, what everything looked like song to song, and that was really cool to just be part of that in those different ways also.
Yeah, that,
Yeah.
that, oh, go on. Sorry.
You're good. I just think it was like a good exercise in letting go and like trusting, and like really like embracing collaboration.
Yes, speaking of collaboration, there were a bunch of artists on this record, and I guess there's a story behind why each artist came along. But how did you hand select who was going to be on each song?
We started off by making some lists of just like the songs and people that felt like we saw them in that space. A lot of the time it was like we were thinking of artists that either fit well inside the song in our heads or like feel crazy to pick and it was fun to piece it together thinking of like dream artists that we love. A lot of the artists are friends of ours and people that we have really admired for a long time. So it was a mixture of like dream collab and also trying to create a puzzle that feels really interesting and feels like there are a lot of shifts in genre and shifts in feeling throughout the record. But yeah, it felt like a big puzzle that we were working on together.
Absolutely. I feel like I think last year you said it was 8 years from your first song, so now I believe we're on 9 years.
Right.
As being a group for as long as you have been, and I feel like in artist years, 9 years feels like a lifetime. Probably you have probably giving yourself those opportunities to kind of reach out to those artists and, find some of those dream collaborations. Who on this list, just to get like personal, maybe, who's on this list has been on like in your mind for a while where you guys have told yourself if we could have that opportunity to do something with them, we would do it tomorrow.
Totally. One of mine was definitely Greta from Frankie Cosmos. We were listening to Greta's music when we started making music, and that was super surreal. It was also so funny how in those instances we, have known about Frankie Cosmos for a million years. We've kind of been like internet friends sort of, but like once you actually get in the room, you're like, oh, we're just like immediately friends. Like there's no kind of weirdness. Like I felt like that was really lovely. And it is like so surreal to get to work together, especially imagining like Greta was doing like a 10th anniversary show and we were actually on tour for the actual show, but they did like a pre-show show. And so we went to that and I was like, I know every word of this album. Like I'm a huge fan and know every single word. So it was really sweet, especially like, in the context of like we're working together and Greta was doing the 10th anniversary thing. It just felt very sweet to get to kind of revisit that time and think about like where everyone is now. But that was one of mine. I mean, everyone
Yeah.
I'm so excited
I
about a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel like also like a big influence like when we were starting was Girlpool, and I feel like having harmony on the record is really cool and exciting. And also Alexis from Sleigh Bells, like Sleigh
Yeah.
Bells was a huge influence for me. Like growing up, I remember the first like playlist my friend made for me, like a mixtape on a like burnt CD, had Kids and Real and AB Machines on it from the album Treats, and I just got obsessed with that album, and it was like a huge part of like what I wanted to make sonically in terms of like experimental, like kind of crazy sounds with like cool vocal stacks and stuff.
That's really cool. I would think that success of a record would lead to having this opportunity because you're not just doing this with songs that maybe didn't sit with your audience. So last year, when you were maybe touring or you were getting feedback from people, did that influence maybe like, hey, we could do something more with these songs as well?
I think we just I think we just felt really good about the record, and I think we feel really good about like where we're at. And I don't know if it really is measured by terms of like success as much as just feeling like comfortable in like our artistry and like reaching out to people that we feel like we're like comrades with, I think that like sometimes things can feel really successful or things can feel not successful, and
Yeah.
like you can't really measure it based on like things like numbers and things like tours and stuff. I think it just is about like the feeling of if you feel good and confident in your artistry, because there's so many artists that I like love and would love to collaborate with that like in terms of numbers or like on paper are not like hugely successful, but I think they're some of the best artists of our generation, so I think it's more about like the things that people are making and people paying attention to that.
I agree. If was an artist, I feel like those would be the things that I'd be looking at, not so much like the more corporate stuff of like numbers and all that stuff that comes along. To dig a little deeper though, on this record specifically, I guess, what were you looking for? What was the feel when you first released the songs or you wrote the songs even? What was your feel during this entire process? And what did factor into you having such a positive feel from these songs?
We wanted to make worlds, like we wanted to make kind of a big dreamscape. And yeah, being a band for almost 10 years, I think like we just wanted to let go of everything that we thought we had to do, or that like we wanted to like take everything we'd learned and also like get in touch with like the like an uninhibited drive to create that we had when we first started making music. And I think we accomplished that.
For sure.
Part of it also, and with like leading into this new version of this album, I think part of it for me is that we started off this record working it's often like in one of our bedrooms writing these songs with mostly two guitars, and like it felt very intimate. And during that time we were imagining what the next iteration of these songs would be like as we got closer to recording, and then we made demos of that felt like a version of the song that could have been released that we made with our band. And then we made another version of it, of these songs with Catherine Marks, who produced the record. So it felt like we were kind of in the process of like letting these songs like roll in front of us and like become something as we were playing with them, and like not being too precious about like, oh, but this recording or this specific, like obviously sometimes there's the recording and you're like, that's the recording and it's over. But like there's also so much beauty that comes with like letting it morph as different people touch it and like have little influences, and you find like the way that the song shows up well. So I feel like that, just because of that process, I felt really mentally set up to kind of continue and say, like, this felt, crazy to do all these different versions then, but like, what if we go further? What happens then? What if we like give it to everyone and let everyone play with it? Then what happens? So it felt very natural to kind of continue into this project from where we started with the way that we were recording and writing.
Yeah, it's also like, I think that after you make a record, there's always this feeling that like, okay, time to make the next record, like time to write new music. And I feel like it's nice to like have the new music be the music you made, but like be the music evolved, and like, yeah, like just like I said at the beginning, like letting the song live a little bit instead of being like, okay, that's over, next thing, next thing, next thing.
That's a good way of looking at it. I do run into that a lot, where artists, after a year of, playing it nonstop live and just having it out there for so long, it almost feels like that mindset of what's next starts to pop in, and it kind of shoves those songs to the side. So having this fresh look on these songs kind of gives it some life in some ways. But I did read that, some of these songs were a few day process in the studio. Sitting down with these artists, was there any like particular lessons you picked up? Because I feel like any profession, any art, like anything in life, it's an ongoing learning opportunity. Do you feel like you were picking up particular things from these artists?
Totally. I feel like each person that, or each band or person that we worked with kind of had a different flow, and it was really fun to dip into everyone's different way that they work on music and just see. I mean, so much of it is really similar, obviously. Like a lot of it is like going with what feels right. And often everyone in the room can kind of feel what is right altogether. So a lot of it's like trusting your instinct. And I also think there's some more about like setting up the days that is in this question because I'm thinking of like Greta when we were working on Dog was so organized. And I was just thinking the whole time, like, this is so beautiful to see someone be like, okay, at this time, we're getting violins in at this time. Like, and a lot of the time we're not quite so planned about like making sure everything gets done, but that was so inspiring to me. And I'm like already somebody that kind of like loves being organized. So I was like really a fan of Greta's process, and she was just super on top of everything. But I think song to song, it was just really interesting more to see how people work and let ourselves kind of just like go with what their flow is and follow their brain. We were also really trying to let people lead us instead of saying our opinion. So a lot of it too was just like, maybe we'll like make up a harmony, or maybe we'll say like, I'll sing whatever harmony you want to write. And it's definitely a learning experience to kind of put yourself in someone else's hands and like let yourself kind of become like a paintbrush in this new band that's covering your song.
Yeah, it did really feel like being in a bunch of different bands.
Yeah.
And like in some of the bands, we were like lead singers, and in some of the bands, we were like super backup singers, or like it really like depended on where we were. And like in some of them, we were like co-producers, and it was really fun to just kind of like be wherever we needed to be and like let the songs like go where they needed to go.
I feel like my next question will kind of have some similar descriptions during your response, but I did see a quote from Frankie Cosmos where they talked about the song Dog and how, in some ways, it was friends hanging out, but in other ways, it felt like you were on tour, on the road together. What do you think about that quote, and why do you think they specifically felt that way?
I think like on tour, you like feel like you're in summer camp, like especially like when you're on a new tour with new people. And you just spend like every hour of the day together. And that's kind of what it was. We like woke up in the morning, we went to the studio, we would like take a break and go get lunch, and then we'd come back and we'd work until the end of the day. And like we were just like giggling the whole time, but like playing music the whole time. And it just like felt really like we were in this kind of insular little world and like making art together. And it was like we got really silly and like really close really fast.
Yeah. When you play these songs live, if you have any plans or intentions to play the ones that are on this record, what like I guess what is going to make you hand select certain songs from this version, and will it be a little more technical because you're not always going to have the other artists there with you?
Right. I don't really know what it'll be like. I feel like so far anyway, we've been playing the original versions. I think some of them are probably playable without the other artists, but a lot of them aren't. So maybe there will be a world where we do some type of like collab performances and let the songs live with like the people that worked on them performing them. That would be awesome. Um,
Yeah.
some of them I think won't translate without the people, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think well, because I also think that like we already perform the songs in different ways a lot because like the last tour me and Kelly went on was the first time we toured as a duo, and we performed like a different version of all the songs that we like stripped down to be for two people. So I feel like it's our like I think that it's just another emphasis of like the song living, and like it lives in like these two different recordings, and also like when it's live like we might like take some things from these versions and bring them into like how we perform the songs like as a duo or as a stripped down band, or like because we always perform in different ways. Like sometimes we're a 6-piece band, sometimes we're a 4-piece band, sometimes we're a 2-piece band. And yeah, I think that sometimes we'll be able to like bring some of the artists out and like perform with them. But yeah, I think it's just like whichever version feels best to perform in the like form that we're in, I think will be the version that we perform.
Do you see yourself moving forward doing something similar where it's just the two of you performing live?
Totally. It was really fun. The tour was great. And I think it's super, super interesting and feels great to sing the songs with more limited instruments sometimes. Like the full band is obviously so much fun and like we love the energy of the full band. But there's something that's so special about like being able to hear the most raw version of the song and to get to hear like the version of it that it is if we're just alone and writing it. It's like feels like vulnerable to do it that way. We also love to like chat when we're the two of us on tour. So I feel like these shows were especially the headline shows on the tour were really, really fun. And the fact that it was like just the two of us made us feel like very relaxed and like we could just kind of go off script and talk to everyone if we wanted. And it just feels very intimate and lovely. So I feel like we'll definitely do both as whatever the opportunities are. We'll do both full band and stripped duo.
I really enjoy what you said about, and it feels like almost you're in the room together playing these songs, and it just gives the audience a different perspective on the band and a different experience. What ultimately makes you decide this tour we're going to do the two of us, this tour we're going to do four, this tour we might have six in the band? Is there anything that factors into that?
Yeah.
It's like mostly logistics. Like I think it's mostly like what makes sense financially, what like if we're opening or if we're headlining, who's available. Like it's just kind of like we kind of work around what makes sense or like what we've like how we feel emotionally.
What we're excited about.
Yeah. But the last tour was just like the headliner was like only two people can come, and we are like, okay, we'll figure it out. And we ended up really liking it, even though we were like a little bit like nervous at first about it.
It unlocks something new for the band. Speaking specifically about the song that is out right now, which is Dog. I mean, it's been out for a year, but a new version of it. But I guess I'll talk about the original version because last year, I think it was said that the song itself is about walking around New York City on a bad day, feeling completely stuck in your head and finding solace in funny little uncanny physical representations of your misery. I'm not going to go too deep into the song itself and the meaning, but do you feel like living in such a big city where there's always something new happening around you? Does that give you influence for these songs?
Oh yeah, totally. I write on a walk all the time. Sometimes it's like because you get inspired walking around, but sometimes it's just like nice to kind of be moving while you're thinking. And dog, I wrote like walking on the West Side Highway, not on the highway, but on the path where you're supposed to be.
I'd be a little worried if you were walking on the
Yeah,
highway.
like it's highway vibes, but it's like on the path.
It's like by the water.
Yeah, by the water. And yeah, I used to live over there or like nearby anyway, and I would walk over there all the time. And I like thinking about like a lot of music we write outside or on a walk, or we at least like started or think about, more lyrics or something while we're on a walk. And it's really nice to have that feeling. Like I feel like the song kind of lives when I go over in that area. I'm like, this is dog. I'm like inside dog right now. And it's the same for other songs that kind of like have a spot in my head if I sat somewhere thinking about it or working on it. Like the song Liar from our other record is like 72nd and Broadway because I wrote the main section of that just standing still. and and like every time I walk by there, I'm like, we're inside of Liar. It's perfect. But yeah, it's super inspiring to live in the city in a billion ways.
Did you get lied to on that corner?
Oh, did I?
That's
I think
that.
I was lying. I think I was lying on the corner.
So it's about physically lying, not
Right.
someone lying to
Oh,
you.
no,
No, it's about lying, not laying down, lying.
He
Like
was the liar.
I was the liar. I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
really, but it's just a metaphor,
Yeah, definitely. What do you feel like the most random spot you received influence as an artist was? Where were you for that?
The most random spot, like in the city.
Anywhere, I guess. Has
The most
has there ever
random.
been like you were just sitting there and you're like, oh, this would be a good
Oh,
theme for a song?
well, yeah, the thing that popped into my head was in the middle of writing dog because I was sitting on a bench and I was kind of like in the middle of a line in my head of like what was going to happen. And then I was kind of like, I don't know what the next part will be. And then I saw that there was like a rotten peach pit on my foot. And then I was like, let's go with that. We're going with it. And so I just started talking about that in my writing. And then it made it into the song. So that was random. I mean, the whole thing of dog is random. Like I saw that song is so much about like literally what I saw walking and like getting just everything I saw was like really funny to me. And so I just kept like journaling about it essentially. And then it became the song from
For
there.
me, I don't know if it's so random, but I was like living in this tiny apartment in Bed-Stuy before we wrote the second record. And I was in the shower and I was just like singing random stuff. Like I was just kind of like singing what I thought was songs. And then I just started singing like uh, we have this song called Tell Me Have You Been Dancing from that record, and I was just going like, Tell me have you been dancing lately, are you? And it felt like just like something entered me, and then like that came out and I was like, oh, that's kind of good. And then I like got out of the shower and wrote it down, and I like didn't even know what it meant, and then I like wrote a song around it. I was like, oh, it makes sense. Okay, I know what this means now.
That's so fun. I'm in New Jersey, so I'm right next to New York, and I used to work there at the beginning of my career. So I guess I'll ask how long you've been in New York, what brought you there, but also I feel like New Yorkers are built a little different, and I think I can say that being from New Jersey. Would you agree?
Would I agree that you can say it?
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah, you can say it. I was born in New York, so I've been here the whole time. I do think New Yorkers are probably built different. I also just think I think the stereotype of the New Yorker is not always accurate, but I do think it takes a certain amount of like ability to thrive in a place like this to enjoy it. And I've known amazing, amazing people that moved here and then were like, this is not for me. And like, there's nothing wrong with them. Like, they're just like, it's just this very specific type of environment. And like, some people feel really comfortable. And like, for me, as we were on tour, I was just saying, like, as we were driving back into the city, I was like, I feel like I'm like going to a spa. Like, I feel like so relaxed and relieved to like be back. And I know some people don't feel that way and they're like getting into the city and they're like, oh my god, the traffic, the crazy, the noise, the dirt, the whatever. And like, I don't know, there's just something about it that makes me feel calm. So
I find that so interesting.
yeah, I know.
You could go to like the most quiet place on tour probably, or like
Yeah.
most secluded place, and you go back to New York City with all the
Yeah,
quote unquote chaos around you and you feel relaxed.
finally.
I'm from New Orleans, but I've lived here for 14 years. But I feel like there's like New York in my soul. My dad was from New York, so I feel like there's a lot. I feel a lot of like familial connection to the city. I also grew up in a city, so
Yeah.
yeah, this really feels like home. I mean, I'll always also be like a New Orleanian, but I also feel like a New Yorker at this point. I also can't drive, so I feel like I belong here.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone that I know who moved either to Hoboken, Jersey City, New
Yeah.
York, they instantly got rid of their cars, so it's a good spot to, not drive. But we talk a lot about collaboration on this record, but I guess I'll specifically ask about your personal bond between the two of you because you just did a tour where it was just the two of you. What makes your pairing so special? Why do you think Daisy the Great works?
I think it works, like, I don't know, I think we were brought to each other and, like, in a way, like, I think the defining characteristic of Daisy is our 2 voices together, and I think, like, when we started showing each other music, we were showing each other songs that, like, we couldn't perform alone because we had already written them before even meeting each other with, like, another voice in mind. So, I feel like we just, like, from the beginning were, like, we were writing these songs with harmonies and, like, our voices fit really well together. And I feel like when I sing Daisy songs, like, I actually, like, physically can't sing them without Kelley. Like, they feel, like, completely wrong. Or, like, if one of us is sick or something and, like, is singing differently, like, you can feel it because it feels like the voice of Daisy is 2 voices and that there's, like, not 1 melody, but there's always 2 melodies. Like, even if we're singing in unison, it just feels, like, correct when our 2, like, voices are together on this project. Yeah, it's always felt very natural and very, like, true to, like, the music that we make together.
Yeah. I also think when we started, it was so much about just like following what felt fun. And we did not really go towards the band with too much pressure in mind at the beginning. Like now, obviously, there are times when there's more and less pressure. But in the beginning, it was truly just like, it sounds so fun to work on this song and sing it all day long. It sounds so much fun to play at our friend's party and like it's not about anything other than just like enjoying performing and enjoying writing. And that is something that we come back to all the time. Like when things get more high stakes, we're always like, let's revisit like what that was like and make sure that everything that we're doing feels like it's still on the same channel as we're working on it.
And
Uh,
that's what felt really good about this tour too, was like it just felt like I think that in addition to all of that, like when we started the band, I think there was a part of us that like didn't feel like instrumentally capable or something in a way, or like held back by something that like we thought we like and at the time we probably did, but like needed other people to like play the music with us. And I think that it was like really a great like growing opportunity for us to be like, okay, we've been in a band for 10 years and like we actually can play this music really well, just the 2 of us, and, like, how does it feel to, like, kind of claim it and bring it on stage as the 2 of us, and it felt really good and, like, kind of like the beginning, like, bringing the beginning to where we are now, and, like but also with, like, kind of a newfound confidence of just, like, having performed for so long, and, like, there were people after the show that were like, "I could tell that, like, this music has a big band in it," like, even the way that you played it.
That's a big compliment. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that statement. I guess I'll do my last question. Zoom always cuts me short, but I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. When I say as cliche as this sounds, highs and lows, what moments come to mind instantly for highs, and what moments come to mind for lows, and how do you stay grounded as a group? I guess it's kind of a carry on from the previous question because you talk about keeping the band fresh in some ways, but just staying grounded and level-headed through the process.
is this like highs and lows of band at all time for all time
It could be personal
or
life
for the record?
while in the band, I guess, just throughout the whole journey in some ways.
First thing that I'm thinking about is like one of our first ever shows. We were opening for a band called AJR, and we were playing in Michigan. And this was like big high in the moment where we were playing our song Time Machine. And it was previously we had never really toured. We had opened for the Indigo Girls but it was like 3 dates with Indigo Girls. We played shows, a ton of shows in New York, but like nothing quite as big as this. Like this tour was our first time opening for someone, was like all arenas basically. And we were playing our song Time Machine, and then like the whole audience started doing the like cell phone light slash
That's cool.
lighter light. And it was so beautiful. And that felt equally high to me as then we were in this like little club like a little while after playing Time Machine again, and like we were doing a headline run then for the song coming out, for the album coming out, and like we had these most sweet fans in the entire world that had made these little star like paper things and like passed them out. So then we were in this little club and like playing Time Machine, and then this whole sweet audience was like doing the lights with the star. And I
So
was just
cool.
thinking then, like, it does not matter. The size of whatever's happening doesn't matter. It's like the people in this room, no matter where you are, what's happening, are all like on the same like we're on the same wavelength, and we're like getting each other in this like really beautiful way. So I feel like those moments of, I guess it feels like community moments, or just like moments where the music feels super alive and you feel like a huge connection with wherever you are and wherever the people that are there. Those are the moments that feel like a big high to me. And then my low, the first thing that came into my head was that our van got broken into, and
Oh no.
we got like a bunch of our gear stolen, and like our drummer got all his clothes stolen. And like those moments on the road are really tough because you're really exhausted and like, trying to just like stay in good spirits. You're like on little sleep, you're trying to get to the next place, like everyone's working so hard. And like I felt destroyed by that, but I also just felt like I don't like seeing, Mati, our drummer, processing the fact that he has no suitcase anymore. Like I just was like, I wish I could like fix everything right now. And like those moments make you feel like a lot of bands in that situation like can't keep touring. Like, so in that moment we were so lucky that we were able to like set up a GoFundMe really quick, and like people helped us get our stuff together for the next few shows, because we were like, if we don't have any people around us, it's also community. Like the answer to this question is like also community, because it was like people around us helping and like giving us a guitar to borrow for this show, or like bringing Mati clothes, like that type of thing. Was just like suddenly there were like all these people around us trying to help, and it made a gigantic difference, and like we were able to continue on that tour. But those moments are hard.
I mean, for me, the highs are always writing the songs and like having them. I'm always surprised, like whenever I make something and whenever we make something, that like it is what it is, because it feels like it's just like coming out and then I'm like, whoa, I actually really like this. And I like to like kind of let my brain spill alongside Kelley's brain and then see what happens. And I'm always surprised and like learn something about myself through like what comes out like through the subconscious and like through just like singing and music. And I love, so those are the highs, and so is like performing always, and like seeing how those songs hit people. And it's always like such a high and like makes me cry to see people singing the songs. Just because it feels like it's like so like a full circle of something where like, you know, however you want to think about creativity, like I like to think of it as like being open enough to like receive energy that's being brought to you, like you're like a vessel for like some sort of creative spirit that's like meant to be put out for connection to others. So I like the process of like receiving the information, like interpreting it, putting it out in form of song, and then having other people sing it back to me, because it feels like a full like circle of like the life of a song. And also just again, like the like watching a song breathe is so important to me. And knowing that people can sing it and pass it forward feels really amazing and humbling to feel like it doesn't just belong to you anymore. And I think that on the opposite side of that, what ends up being the lows for me is when I get too caught up in the industry side of it, or when I feel like I'm suddenly like, my ego becomes a part of it and I get like comparison-y or down on myself, or like I start to put too much of my identity into the music and try to like interpret myself through how other people see me. Um, and whenever I get too far down a path like that, I think I get really down. And I think that performing and making music reminds me like what it's about. And I think that I specifically need to like make sure that I'm like reminding myself like not to even like ask how it's going. I think that the way that music exists will change throughout time, like depending on how people are taking music in and how people are like going to shows and like I think that like the industry will always be something that like we can't understand and that like is always evolving and that is always like kind of random and can be unfair or um I just don't think it's like a measure of like artistic success. And I think that when I start to think of it as a measure of artistic success, sometimes I can get too wrapped up in it and it can bring me down. So I think that those moments are what feel the most low to me.
That's a That's a great response because I could go all day into like the evolving nature of the music industry and like where it's going and where it's been and stuff like that. But I did think of something real quick that I wanted to ask earlier. For the rollout of this specific record, what do you have planned? Because I saw right now there's only one song out on like Spotify, Apple Music, and everywhere else for the coming weeks because it comes out July 17th, where we're recording this on June 30th. What are you planning for the rollout?
Well, tonight we have a song coming out at midnight.
Oh,
I think
fun.
it's
I'll have
tonight.
to
Yeah.
stay up.
Tonight at midnight, it will be Harmony's version of Dream Song. And we're super excited about it. This song is like so good. It's one of the songs, I mean, I love all the songs on the record, but this one is one that really suits like my specific walking around want like what I want to hear while I'm just kind of like going places. Like I really like listening to it. And I'm really excited for everyone to hear it.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I'm gonna have to put like an alarm on because
Yes, please.
I'm gonna fall asleep at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock tonight probably. But
Nice.
I'm excited for that. I'm gonna have to start making a pitch just because we're neighbor states for Daisy the Great to play Stone Pony Summer Stage.
Cool.
We gotta get you on there. But
Let's do
um, yeah,
it.
that was a fun conversation. So July 17th is when the record The Rubber Teeth Talk with Friends comes out. It's a fun collaboration record, but it sounds like the two of you are very excited about this and I'm ready to hear the rest of the record too. I can't wait for July 17th. But thank you so much for coming on and talking about it with me.
Thank
Thank you.
you.